Okay, so this is our heart model. This is the most commonly used heart model, so I'm going to use this one. We're going to look at the outside first, and then we'll move to the inside. Now, this side would be the right side. This is the left side. Going into the right side, we have the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. They're both going to feed into this right atrium. Now, the atriums have a little bit of overlap on the front of them. That's called the auricle. So these are the auricle of the right atrium, making this one the auricle of the left atrium. The big blue one right here in the front would be called the pulmonary trunk. And this big red one is the aorta. Now, other things we can see on the front, we have these little arteries and veins running across. These are called coronary arteries, and they supply blood to the myocardium. They're going to sit in this little groove called the sella turcica. Ooh, sorry, not the sella turcica. That is the ventricular sulcus. So the ventricular sulcus is just that little groove sitting right there in the front. Right there. There we go. So ventricular sulcus. And at the very, very bottom, the tip would be the apex. All right, now we're going to move to the inside. We have 4 chambers, open spaces. We have the right atrium is the first chamber on the top, right. Left atrium. Right ventricle is this open space that makes a V, that's convenient, V ventricle. And then we have the left ventricle. So right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. All right, next we're gonna look at the 4 valves. So blood flows from the right atrium through this small valve called the tricuspid valve. Now the tricuspid valve, if you look, has 3 cusps, these little red tabs. So there's your tricuspid. Then the blood's going to flow out through this pulmonary semilunar valve. Vaguely resembles a butt. Lunar, butt, and there you go. And it's going to the pulmonary trunk. So this is the pulmonary semilunar valve. From there, the blood flows up through the pulmonary trunk, out to the lungs, and comes back in through the left atrium. Left atrium through the bicuspid or mitral valve. I like bicuspid because there's only 2 tabs and it makes it easier to remember. So bicuspid valve. And the last one's kind of hard to see, but it's way up here. There's your aortic semilunar valve, that white circle. It looks like a peace sign way up there. Now the valves themselves, these little guys have a couple little structures you need to know. The strings that make up the valves are called the chordae tendineae. So that means heartstring. So chordae tendineae. And then the outside ventricles are made up of myocardium. That means heart muscle. Cardium, myo, yeah, there you go. So myocardium, chordae tendineae. But other than that, that's it.